You might be better off homeless than live in some houses in Lagos State of Nigeria. They are not haunted houses, they might be even worse than haunted houses. John is a young man who moved from the eastern part of Nigeria to the commercial city of Lagos in the western part of the country. The idea was for greener pastures. He worked very hard and accumulated some money and was able to find a very good spot where he would showcase his product. It's very, very difficult for people who know Lagos to find a very good spot because everybody wants that best spot. But he was very, very lucky. One day he got a good spot which looked so good to be true. Red flag. He negotiated with the owner and he was okay with the rent. But he noticed two things that he wished he investigated on before moving into the spot. When he opened the door to the showroom, he saw something that you would never expect in such places. He noticed that this place was so dusty, you could tell that it's been left for a couple of years and no one rented this place. And then secondly, he also noticed that whoever rented this place before sold computers, because every computer this man or woman had was still there in the shelf, but all covered with dust. In other words, this person left this place and never attended to his product. That was a red flag. But John went ahead to clear up this place and make it his own. He noticed that the owner's daughter was having a conversation in a different language that he can really understand. And at some point, the owner's daughter and the neighbor started having an altercation and they started arguing. They almost fought. But the problem was that John couldn't understand the language they were speaking. It is called Yoruba. But John was an Igbo. So he kept quiet and stayed on his own. He didn't want to start having issues with people being new. So he didn't ask what was going on. But this is going to make more sense to you towards the end of the story. Now, if you like products like this, our content we try to upload every week, try to hit the subscription button, the notification bell, and like our channel. Thank you. Now, after clearing this place, and then he asked for people to help him paint the place just to make it look good. He asked the locals, but none of them agreed to come paint this place. So he ended up painting this spot himself without any help. On the right side was someone else who has a showroom who seemed not to be doing very well. On the left side was the owner of the building. She's an older lady, but she sells little things like peanuts, bottled water, biscuits, candies, and stuff like that. Nothing very, very serious. And he also noticed a pattern. The old lady, who's the owner of the building, comes randomly to ask for help, like 500 naira, which is equivalent to 50 cents pretty much, or like $1 equivalent of naira. And John didn't find it as a problem. He helps out the old woman and gives her money whenever she wants just to help her out. But John also noticed something. He wasn't doing very well. Like, he moved up from not having a showroom and selling his product without a showroom, and now that he moved into a showroom, he's supposed to even do better than he was doing, but now he's even doing worse. And he also noticed something. He has a very close business partner who always comes to the office. And then when this person comes to the office, he notices that this man doesn't sit down. One day, this man came in and he was waiting for something, and that made this business partner to spend up to 2 hours in his office. And in those 2 hours, he didn't sit down. And John asked him specifically, why is it that whenever you come to my office, you do not sit down? And it was very obvious that at this point that his business partner has to give him an answer. His business partner said, your building is a scorpion house. Now, John didn't take this seriously. He shoved it aside. But one day he was going on a trip with her sister in a public transport. Her sister has been in Lagos for 15 years, but John has lived in Lagos for 2 years. So her sister knows better. And then they overheard someone talking on the phone with someone else loudly, and the conversation was about how some houses in Lagos are scorpion houses and how those houses can affect your life. spiritually and can affect you physically in everything you do. And then John turned to his sister and tapped his sister and said, did you hear this conversation? And the sister said, yes, there are some houses, there are scorpion houses. And John now opened up to his sister. He told his sister that he noticed that someone came to his office and told him that his house is a scorpion house. And his sister was like, really? He said, yes. And his sister said, if it's truly a scorpion house, you should leave that place like now. Now John started shivering. He was very scared. He never expected to hear this from his sister. And the sister told him that when he gets back to his office, he should look at the highest point of the building, that if he sees something that looks like a scorpion as a design on the building, he should get out of that building like now. And also made it very, very clear that some of those buildings do not have like this physical sign, but they are embedded somewhere. And then John couldn't wait, but he aborted the trip. He rushed back to his office, and while he was going, he was looking on the highest point of the building. And behold, John saw something that he has been seeing, but never took notice of it. It was a sign that doesn't very, very look like a scorpion, but you can tell it was a sign of a scorpion. He couldn't get into his office. He was scared. Now immediately, John, who knew that he has already started having like some struggles in his business, started looking for another spot. And then one day, the same lady who owns the building walked up to John and asked for a financial assistant again. At this point, John was more skeptical about this lady than he was before. So he decided to play safe. He asked the woman, what do you want this money for? The woman said that he wants this money just to buy a phone charger, which is like 500 naira. John said, no problem. I'm not going to give you the money, but I'm going to help you buy this charger. The woman insisted that he wants the money instead. That was when John felt like there's something about this money I give to this woman. John insisted that if you want a charger, I'll get you a charger. The woman obliged. John went out and searched for this specific charger for the phone. John couldn't find the charger. And then he felt like he still needs to keep to his promise. John went back into his office and did something that he never did before. He actually picked up the 500 naira, put on his hands, and prayed on it. He said, this money is going to be a blessing and not a curse for me. And after that, John is a Catholic. So he went and brought a holy water and sprinkled on the money. And then he took the money and gave it to this woman and went back. Meanwhile, John was still busy looking for a new spot where he's going to move into. Now, a few days later, after giving this money to this woman, he heard that the woman was sick in the hospital. And after 3 weeks in the hospital, the woman came back from the hospital. One day, the woman walked up to John's office and the woman brought something out. She squeezed it. John couldn't see it, but the woman didn't say anything. But this woman had a very strange look. Her eyes looked so bloody and she looked very, very angry and furious. John started thinking, have I done something wrong? The woman didn't say anything. All the woman did was the gesture of, can you have this? Like, John didn't know what this woman was trying to give him. So John was like, what's going on? John stepped backward and the woman went forward. At some point, John felt threatened. He like, what's the matter? And the woman said, please, can you take this? John was like, I can't take what I'm not seeing. Like, you have your hand clenched and you're giving me something to take. And then the woman said, it's the 500 naira you gave me a month ago. And John was like, why are you bringing this money back? It's like, what 500 naira? And then she said, it's the 500 naira you gave me before to buy a charger. John was like, I usually give you money, but why are you bringing this specific money back? She said she doesn't need it anymore. And John said, but I gave you this money just to help you. I never lended this money to you. She said, yeah, I know, but I don't want it anymore. Something in him told him that this is not normal. And John made it very clear that he is not going to take this money back. So John stepped backward and the woman fell on a chair very close to her, like she gave up. After some minutes sitting on the chair with her head down, she raised her head up, walked out with the money. And that was when John knew that he really needs to ramp it up on the search for a new spot. few weeks later, John was lucky enough to find a spot which was not as good as this one, but he was willing to leave. His rent in the old spot, he still have like 6 months to spend in that office, but he decided to let all go and save his life. So one day in the morning before the cock crows, he went to his office, brought a truck, and he was packing his stuff into the truck, and the woman woke up. The woman lives in the same house. The woman woke up and saw John packing his stuff. The woman came down very angrily and asked John, "What are you doing?" John's like, "I just found a new spot, I want to move." She said, "You still have 6 months to go." He said, "Yes, I know, you can keep it." And then the woman went back again and came back angrily with a clenched fist again. And he asked John, "Please, can you take this 500 naira back from me?" John said, "I'm never going to take this money from you. It looked very weird." And the woman walked back again. And then John called more people to help him pack his things so he can leave like as soon as possible. So after moving, John on one occasion was in a public place where he saw the woman that was having an altercation with the daughter of the person that owns the house that he rented before. The woman approached him and was very excited to see him. That was when the woman told him that on the day that he had an altercation with that lady, that the reason why she was having that issue was because she wanted to tell John that he shouldn't rent that property. She wanted to tell John how people who rented that property mysteriously had issues, either fell sick and never came back from the hospital, or left their showroom and abandoned everything, and they started having like issues financially. Like, it never goes well with people like that. That everybody who lives in the neighborhood knows about that building, and that is why no one wanted to rent it. That building has been there for 5 good years. Regardless of the fact that it was in a very, very good spot, no one wants to move into that building. And then she also went ahead and told him that the man who had a showroom very close to him is actually very sick in the hospital, and financially he is doing very poorly, and his stuff is in that showroom and no one has touched it for a couple of months. Now, things like this make you wonder why. Are some houses haunted really? Are some houses being dedicated to some spiritual cause? And can you actually pick up an object like money and pray on it and it changes the course of your life? I don't know, but you be the judge.